you're a pastor.
I am.
And I'm the husband of a pastor. And actually, we were at a wedding anniversary, 30 years.
Yes.
Shout out to
renewal.
Shout out to Lamont and Latoya. They were celebrating, I think, 30 years, and they were renewing their vows. And we were, just hanging out at the party, all black party. It was really nice. And there was a guy at our table. We were just talking to them, small talk.
Hey.
And they told him that you were a pastor, and he came to me. He said, "What? How so how do you handle that, being married to a woman pastor?" And so that's what we'll talk about today.
Right. It's real. It's real in those streets. Expectations with, first of all, a woman in leadership, right? And me being a pastor, serving at Better Life Faith Church International. Shout out to our ministry, where my father and mother are the pastors. So they work together in ministry, and I'm like the enforcer. So I'm like the third man in their little wonderful ministry team. And so I just always go back to when I first got saved, right? I got saved at 12 years old, watching The Awakening. Shout out to the late Apostle Clifford E. Turner. And so that was back in the day. If anybody know The Awakening, check out The Awakening. It was so good. Marquita and all this stuff like that. That's just, how I grew up and got saved watching that show. Just wanted to just hear the Lord grow and everything like that. My brother, as well as my cousins, they all started out in ministry. So I wasn't out here like, oh my goodness, let me be a pastor. I was okay. I direct the choir. I like work with children, which I currently work with children now. And it was literally 20 years old in college, sitting in my dorm, and the Lord said ministry. And I promise you, I had to hear him like 2-3 times. Like, no, you talking to me? You talking to me? You really talking to me? So, he called me, and I didn't know what that looked like. I thought like, well, maybe I could just be, working in ministry, just doing different things like that. But it changed even with my, major in college, because I was a pre-med major, and I'm doing, all the different things, taking chemistry classes, anatomy classes.
Wanted to be a doctor?
Wanted to be a doctor.
A pediatrician, right at that?
Yes. And everyone called me Dr. April Pettis. That's what they did. My yearbook, sign up Dr. April Pettis. I wanted to just be a doctor. I never saw ministry in this element, right? 12 years old, I got saved, but that's the difference when you get called into ministry. And so 20 years old, the Lord called me, and I was like, what in the world? So I went to my mom and my dad, and my mom said, She said, no.
Mama was looking out for you.
She said, no. She was like, nope.
The time, don't you be,
Yeah,
I was like, what next?
real talk. Cause she was like, no. I said, well, the Lord called me, Mama. And I'm not trying to disrespect my parents. I'm like, what in the world? And it just changed and shifted. And I got ordained in April. Gosh, so many moons, but 23 years ago. So what does that make that?
3 or 02?
2003.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
2003. Okay. 2003, I got licensed. And then 2005, I became the youth pastor of our church. Something like that.
Okay.
Maybe.
No better than
I have to check it out. But whatever. It's so long shot.
Or cheating.
Before cheating. So I have to check it out. I always get mixed up with dates. But anyway, I know the Lord called me at 20 years old. So I'll just say that much.
Okay.
Needless to say, it's such a whirlwind, right? When you are a woman in ministry and, you're single woman in ministry.
And a pretty single woman in ministry.
Hey, single.
If you may say so yourself.
If I say so myself, or so you got all the factors that go with that, right? Dating, who you dated, everybody watching you. I'm a pastor's daughter. I am serving as a youth pastor at the church, so I'm being very transparent with my youth, letting them know. I'm not the type of person that bring a lot of people around, so I've only probably brought like 2 around. Made it very clear to my youth who I was pastoring and still pastoring to this day, just and everything like that. And it is a wonderful experience being a woman in leadership, but it is something that you got to be ready. You got to always be ready.
So what kind of things did you experience being a woman single, dating for marriage, presumably dating for marriage, and you being in a leadership position. What were some of the hurdles that you experienced? And
People have expectations of what that look like, right? I am very versatile in my hair, right? I'll just say that. I'll just give you an example. So I went for a season, I was really red, like Mary, Mary Red. When Mary, Mary first came out, I had red hair. And I was coloring my hair, for those, this is just sad. I was coloring my hair with like Kool-Aid sometimes. I was doing all types of funny stuff with my hair. And anybody who follows me, who see me, I'm always changing my hair. I love wearing wigs. Yeah, it was just like in college and stuff like that. I was using West Side. Oh, you old black. Okay, you try to do one of the others. You so West Side or black, you choose it. So, I was like coloring my hair, and at times, my ministry would be presenting and I'm kind of rowdy and I'm still, even now to this day, I'm still so humble when I preach the gospel. I really am, because I just
seen her clips. Does that look humble?
Listen, I am. I will, but I don't know how the Lord's going to lead. I write down, I study, I do what I need to do, but I never want to offend anybody with my presentation, right? And so here it is. My hair is red, especially in the beginning of that time. Then I went blonde. Then I went pink. Then I went gray. Then I went purple. I mean, just you could think of, I just changed my hair. And sometimes that would be offensive to people, right? As a woman in leadership, oh, you shouldn't be wearing your hair like this. Then, your clothing, oh, you shouldn't be wearing it. That's too short. That's too tight. And so I was finding myself battling with, trying to find myself, oh, you're a woman, you can't sit in the pulpit. This for the, Baptist church when we were, traditional, you can't sit in the pulpit or you can't wear earrings. And it's a lot, I think, for women to have a lot of I can'ts. You can't do this, you can't do that. And, I had to find my identity, find my place, who I was, I'm representing, and I literally had to come to this realization that my ministry may not be for everybody, and that's okay. That's okay. It's okay. I used to be like, oh, I gotta be such and such, and trying to please people and how I talk and how, and at the end of the day, I have just come into this season where my ministry may not be for everybody, and it's okay. It's okay. And so as I serve my ministry at church, as I serve the youth, as I continue to do what I need to do, people will be drawn to what I have to bring, right? And so that's the exterior, but then it's the interior of, am I good enough to continue to do this? Right. I haven't done every I, crossed every T. I've been, I had days where I'm like, oh my goodness, that was not Christ-like. Right. And just to be real. And so, once again, the Lord called me. Right. He called me in college. Didn't think that this was my thing because like I said, my brother, my cousins, everybody else was preaching because that was the thing, young boys at that time, just preaching or young men preaching. And I wasn't looking for that. Right. I just like directing a choir, doing whatever I need to do. And for God to call me, such I call it a funny time because I was in a relationship too. And I'm like, what in the world? You call me, I'm with this person. Right. Now I got to change this, so it was different, but I said, yes. I said, okay, God, I wasn't running. I was like, okay.
So let me ask you this. As you were finding yourself as a single woman and you were dating people, so you have examples of what someone did or said that made you know, like, this is not what I need in my ministry. This is not what I need for ministry, for where God is taking me. Is there anything specifically?
Yo, stop right there. I know the conversation is good and good, but we need you to like, subscribe, and share. Share this episode. Come on, join this movement. Use your faith today. Like, subscribe, and share. Right there. Right there. You do it right there. It's nothing. I think me finding my own way. Like my apostle is a wonderful teacher, right? And I'm like Pentecostal who, I may say some stuff a little hood, whatever you want to call it. And I just have to be comfortable in that, right? In how the Lord has given me the gift to preach and what that looked like, and so at the end of the day, I think I just had to fit in where I fit in, which is me. I fit in with me. I can't really be something to someone else because they want me to be that type of female preacher, especially then, being young and only really seeing one particular woman that had a big platform, and that was Prophetess Juanita Bynum. And, shout out to her, just because I just was like, look at her like, oh my goodness, she's so powerful. But I didn't want to come off like the woman that wore the long dresses all the time. And no shade to that. It's just, I was like, I don't want to do all that. Not like that. I ain't trying to wear no split up here. You know what I'm saying? But that was just how the presentation of women pastors were, right? Wearing the long dresses, no makeup, no earrings and stuff like that. And I just was like, but I want to color my hair and I want to wear makeup. And, and I had longer nails than this. And
You're always an eccentric dresser.
That's what he called eccentric dresser.